My project is called The Effect of Gun Maintenance on Bullet Striations Through Successive Firings. So before we get into my project, y'all need to shorter than I thought. Okay, y'all need to understand what striations are. So first, within every gun barrel, there is rifling, which can be seen in this picture right here. That's the set of spiral grooves that are in the gun barrel. So imagine when you throw a football, you put a spin on it, right? So that makes the football go to a more accurate place. It goes where you want it to go. That's the exact reason why rifling is in the barrel. It creates a spin on the bullet, so it allows the bullet to have a more accurate trajectory. Now when the bullet goes through that rifling, this rifling is impressed onto the bullet, which you can see in that middle picture. This impression of the rifling are the striations. These striations are unique to every single gun barrel. This is as a result of when they make the gun barrel. So imagine making a gun barrel, you're pounding on it with all these tools. That imparts unique scratches on the gun barrel just through the manufacturing process. So these unique scratches can be seen under a microscope, which again are the striations. So you can see those right here. However, these striations can change due to barrel wear, so that's shooting the gun a large number of times, cleaning the gun, or the quality of the ammunition that you use. My research specifically looked at how cleaning the gun affects striations. So what's the reasoning behind this research? Aren't I attractive there? It's just beautiful. So reasoning behind why I did this research. So within forensic science, there's DNA evidence. So imagine DNA evidence. When DNA matches, it matches. You're going to jail if it's yours. So there's no real question about the science there. But within firearm examination, that's not the real case. So in firearm examination, you're taking two pictures and looking at the correspondence between those two pictures. So one examiner could look at two bullets and say that they're a match and say they were fired from the same gun. A different examiner looking at the same two bullets could say there's not enough correspondence. So this field is really up to interpretation. So this is why I did this research, in order to add credibility to this field. So to start my research, I had to get a gun, which you can see right here. If y'all are looking for a pistol, I recommend this one. It's a Rock Island Armory 1911 22 TCM and 9mm. Then the ammunition we used here is a Winchester 9mm Luger 115 grain full metal jacket bullets. Now here you can see our firing range setup. This is where we reloaded the ammunition in the magazines. Shout out to my sister for loading all 2,000 rounds. Then this is where the gun was cleaned, and then here is one of our targets. So the first part of our research involved cleaning the gun. So this was when our first 1,000 rounds were fired, and at every 100 rounds, the gun was cleaned. At these same 100 round intervals, we captured the bullets for analysis. The first quality bullet that we captured, we named Reference 1. This was just allowed us to better understand, as this bullet was to be compared to every bullet capture. The second part of our research was when the gun was not cleaned. So this was the second 1,000 rounds fired. But at the same 100 round intervals, we captured the bullets for analysis. Reference 1, again, that first quality sample was compared to these bullet captures as well. Now all of these bullets were compared using a comparison microscope and IBIS Bullet Tracks 3D. So the bullet capture system, if we had unlimited resources, we would have been able to use this lovely contraption here. That is a water recovery tank. It is a stainless steel tank that is about 5 feet deep by 11 feet long, filled with water. So you fire into this port here, and then the water slows down the bullet. And then you are able to retrieve the bullet through using a large fish net. So imagine how cool that would have been, right? Picture it, savor it. SWU version. So this this is what you're really seeing. It's an 18-gallon bin filled with telephone books and Ziploc bags filled with denim. So instead of water explosion, we had denim confetti. So moving on to our comparison, microscope analysis. So we took reference 1 and compared it to all bullet intervals. So just to illustrate this, we took reference 1, compared it to interval 1, which was the first bullet capture after reference 1. Then we took reference 1 and compared it to interval 2, the second bullet capture, all the way through reference 1 being compared to interval 20, the 20th bullet capture. These striations were compared by picking one striation that we would look at through the whole analysis, and then we took that striation and aligned it between the two bullets in order to see how the striations changed. So here's what that looks like. We have reference 1 right here next to interval 4, which is the fourth bullet capture. And that striation, that line that you see, we aligned that between the bullets to see how they compared. So now IBIS Bullet Tracks 3D. This is a cool company that creates 3D imaging of cartridge casings and bullets. So we sent them some of our bullet intervals for them to analyze. They were able to give us a profile meter, which looks like this, and specifically those squiggly lines over there. So that shows the bullet topography through looking at a bullet from this direction. So you're looking at the depth of the striations. Then we also got a 3D imaging, which is what I said, what they're known for. And this 3D imaging of the bullets looks like this. Then we also got pictures taken in grayscale. So here's the grayscale imaging. The grayscale imaging shows the depth of the striation per the gray color. So the lighter the gray, the more shallow the striation. The deeper the gray, the deeper the striation. And again, these pictures were compared the same way as the comparison microscope. So the striations were aligned between the two bullets to see how they compared. So now the results from the first part of our research from the comparison microscope. So the first part of our results came from when the gun was cleaned. And when the gun was cleaned, this showed that the striations were consistent. There was not much change between the striations. So for example, we took reference 1 and compared it to interval 1, and those striations matched. Then we went up in bullet interval. We took bullet reference 1 with interval 4, which looks like this. And this striation right here, you can see how it corresponds perfectly. So then those matched. Then we continue to go up in bullet interval through interval 9, and those matched as well. The next part of our research was when things started to change. So this was when the gun was not cleaned, and this was when striations were no longer consistent. So we saw that interval 10, that line, that striation that I just showed you, started to become more faint. Then as we went up in bullet interval number, that actually became non-existent. And then at the same time, we would rotate the bullet and look at a different portion. Newer striations would form that were not previously there. So due to all of these changes, reference 1 was not able to be matched to bullets at interval 10 and after. So that means that we were not able to say that the bullets were fired from the same gun, as there was not enough striation correspondence. So to illustrate this, we have reference 1 with interval 10, and those did not match. Then going up again in bullet interval, we have reference 1 with interval 14, the 14th bullet capture. And you can see here we have reference 1 next to interval 14, and that line, that striation I just showed you, you see how it's no longer there. So now there's no longer a correspondence. So those did not match. But again, like I said, how there were newer striations on later intervals, we took 2 later intervals and looked at different portions of the bullet to see if these newer striations were consistent. So we took interval 20 and compared it to interval 21. and you can see all these striations here. They correspond perfectly between the two bullets, and those were the new striations that formed. So later striations do match each other, but nothing past interval 10 matches back to reference 1. So now results from IBIS bullet tracks 3D. They weren't able to give us any new information. They were able to corroborate the comparison microscope results that I just showed you. They do have the ability to do an analytical comparison, so they can actually measure the depth of the striations. But they were not able to do so, as the striations produced from the gun barrel were not deep enough, so they were too shallow for them to do their comparison. So the results overall, just to put it all together, the striations became more faint as we went up in bullet interval. And again, at the same time, newer striations formed. So due to this, reference 1 was not able to be matched back to interval 10 and anything after that. Then, as I said, the striations were rather shallow, which did not allow IBIS to do their comparison. Now, taking all of these things into consideration, we were able to understand that cleaning the gun allowed for striation consistency. So for example, the first 1,000 rounds, that's when we actually cleaned the gun, and the striations were consistent. But when we did not clean the gun, the striations were no longer consistent. However, there could be more factors at play in this than just cleaning the gun. So when we were cleaning the gun, we allowed the gun barrel time to cool, just as a result of the cleaning process. But then, when we did not clean the gun, we continued firing. We did not allow the gun time to cool. So this heating of the gun barrel could have changed the striations to a degree that we saw it on the bullets. Changed the barrel to a degree to where we saw the striations change on the bullets. There we go. There are more factors of this, but looking at other research done, other research looked at just barrel wear, so they just continually fired the gun for 2,000 rounds. The gun was never cleaned, and they got the exact same results we did when we did not clean the gun. So their striations became more faint, and new striations formed. So we do have reproducible research when we did not clean the gun, but again, there could be more factors that resulted in the striations changing. So due to this, we did not get the exact answer to our research, but we did get more questions to ask in the future, which I think is the inherent value in research. So due to these questions, here are some ideas for future research. So for all of you honors people, next honors people, y'all can do some of this for me. So I would recommend doing the same research, but getting a barrel that has deeper grooves. That way the striations can be deeper, and you could use IBIS's technology to measure the depth of the striations. I would also recommend doing the same exact research, but looking at the cartridge casings, so looking at the firing pin impressions on the cartridge casings. And I would also recommend doing the same research, but figuring out a way to directly analyze the barrel. Currently, there is no technology created to be able to directly analyze a gun barrel, but if there were, that way we could pinpoint exactly what is happening and why the striations are changing. So lessons learned from this whole process, featuring Braden and Professor McDonald. I learned how to do undergraduate research through this process and to do it well. I also learned how to expand upon research that was previously done and to continue on and learn throughout the rest of my days through this research, because obviously there's a lot to learn with this. So I would like to thank all the people that had a hand in this project, Professor McDonald for all he did with this project, everyone on my committee, Dr. Phipps and Dr. Cinnamon for all they did, and Professor Germain for guiding me through this whole honors project. And also I would like to thank Andrew Boyle and James Armstrong for doing the analyses on the bullets, and SCICU for providing funding for this research because bullets are expensive. And I would also like to specifically thank Dr. Rouse. She pushed me to be in the honors program in the first place. I'm sorry. Without her, I wouldn't be here. So thank you. Gosh, I'm sorry.